Welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Welcome back to the program, Tim.
Thanks, Paul.
It's good to be with you, my friend.
It's great to be with you.
All right. Well, guess what?
What?
We get to help people on the road to retirement.
I am very excited about that because, you know, Paul, that's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we are in the life-changing business.
I love that. But before we get there, I want the good folks of Ohio to get to know a little bit more about you, Tim.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, first of all, what inspired you to become a planner? Why did you want to help folks in this way?
That's a great question. Really goes back quite a few years. It was kind of the first time I ever discovered what not having money felt like.
Ooh, painful.
And you know, it was one of those situations where I wanted to do something that I was really looking forward to, and Mom had to tell me that we couldn't do it because we just didn't have the money. And I really remember what that felt like.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, a lot of times you'd think I'd be disappointed that I couldn't do whatever it was, but it wasn't that. It was really how Mom looked, like that feeling that, you know, she somehow wasn't providing or wasn't able to deliver on something. And it really stuck with me. And so, you know, the idea of being able to help people, to change lives, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times, you know, people are like, oh, you do financial planning, or you guys do wealth management or tax prep or estate planning. We change people's lives.
Yeah.
We make a difference in people's lives today, but it impacts their kids and their grandkids. And so this is one of those things where, you know, our whole team is very passionate about what we do. We want to get to know people.
And think about that. It can't be anything better than that. I mean, is there anything funner than helping people and impacting their lives?
No, there is nothing better than seeing someone, you know, have a idea of a retirement, a plan where we're able to listen to them, to get to know them, and for them to describe the way that they want it to go. And then when it goes that way, Paul, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, puts a smile on your face.
Puts a smile on your face. Puts a smile on their face.
Yeah, which is better yet.
You know,
right?
there's my favorite thing in the world is to get those thank you notes. From clients where they just kind of pour out their appreciation.
Yeah, I love it.
It's the most rewarding thing in the world.
It's incredible. Okay, so to that point, I know one of the things that's near and dear to your heart is making sure that people understand that taxes are important in retirement, and you really want folks to change their mindsets from tax preparation to tax planning. Will you share with everybody why that's so important and what the differences really are, Tim?
Sure. Well, you know, I think a lot of times, Paul, people get caught up in history.
Yes.
They're always looking back. You know, we should have done this, we could have done that, you know, if we'd have done, and we always have to bring people to the present, to the now.
Yes.
Right? Because the now is all that matters.
That's exactly right.
Where they are today, where are they going? There's nothing we can do about the past. And taxes are a big part of that, because a lot of times, you know, people are always thinking about, you know, when they get to retirement, that they have this nest egg that they have saved, and usually a big part of that is in those pre-tax dollars, 401ks, IRAs. This is money that they never paid taxes on. And they have enjoyed that tax deferral that the IRS gives us on retirement plans, which is amazing, up until it's not. Right?
Which I always say there's probably a motive to that, right? They're up to something. That's why they let us defer it.
There is always a motive, right? And so, and the IRS was even kind enough to say, in the event that you don't need these dollars, we're going to make you take them out anyway.
Boom.
Yeah.
Take that.
So they, you know, that required minimum distribution at age 72 is designed specifically to start making you pay taxes. That's the government's plan. They have a plan.
Right.
So the question is, are you going to go with their plan, or are you going to make your own plan?
Ooh, I like that.
Are you going to take control of your tax destiny?
Well said.
And so as we think about, you know, what that might look like, you know, I think to, you know, client stories a lot. We had a married couple, no kids, pretty easy estate plan. They basically wanted to leave things to charity. And we were sitting down around the table and we were talking about their required minimum distribution.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a sharp couple, all right? I mean, this couple, they really understand planning, and they were very passionate about, all that they had done up until this point. And so, I asked them, I said, well, what's your plan with your RMD, with that required minimum distribution? And at this time, it was still the old rule of 70 and a half. And they said, well, Tim, we've got it all figured out. We know exactly what we're going to do based on what we have in our retirement savings. That required minimum distribution is exactly the dollar amount we need to supplement our Social Security and our pension. And so we've got it all figured out. And I believe at the time it was $65,000 or something that they were going to have to take out of their IRAs. And that was the amount that they needed. And I said, well, no, I didn't mean your required minimum distribution at 70 and a half. I was saying, do you understand what impact that is at, say, age 90? Well, what do you think they said, Paul? What do you think he said?
I don't know. I'm kind of dying to know, really.
He said, well, I won't be here because I'll be dead.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because every guy that comes in our office is miraculously going to die at some point in the future that they happen to know.
Right.
And I don't...
Yeah, isn't that funny?
always find that entertaining because I've not gotten that memo yet.
Sure.
I mean, I do get my double ARP magazine.
Well, just so you know, Tim, every night I check the bottom of my foot for my expiration date. I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
So, but to your point, you're right. You don't know that.
And so, the problem with that, the problem with picking this like future death date, we call it a die-by date, is if you don't die by that date, you're out of money, right? And so we don't want die-by dates in our planning. That's not something that we recommend. But anyway, so this couple, as they look at, their plan and kind of what they're going to do, I said, well, have you looked at age 90 on that required minimum distribution, just in the event that maybe you don't die? And he said, well, no, I really haven't. And so their required minimum distribution at age 90 was going to be $650,000, just based on a 3% growth in their portfolio.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah. Well, it is big, too big. Guess what they didn't need at age 90? A tax bill on $650-some thousand, right? And so, those are the types of things where you have to look into the future, and get out of that past of thinking about, what has happened and start thinking about what's going to happen. And so for them, the solution was that we were, with the help of our tax planner, they ended up doing a Roth conversion over a period of about 5 years. That was the planned out tax gap that took them up to, I believe it was like the 22% bracket or something. But anyway, it was a digestible number. And the net savings to them, this is, Paul, if tax rates never change, and obviously they're going to, they're already talking about it.
Sure.
If taxes never change, out of pocket, they were going to save $1 million that they would have written a check to the IRS for.
Really? 7
figures.
That's a huge difference.
$1 million.
Wow.
That's what we do, Paul.
Yeah.
That's what we do for people. For the folks at home, this is what we're asking. Come in and talk to us. Let us do that for you. Let us make a difference in your life today. There's not going to be another time to do it. Take responsibility, take control of your future, of your retirement. When you come to our office, one of the things that we'll do is a tax evaluation, just like what I described, how we were able to help our clients save almost $1 million in taxes through simple planning. I don't know that that's going to necessarily be a fit for everyone, but don't you want to know? Don't you want to know where you sit? So come in, let us do that evaluation for you at no cost. Take advantage of that today.
Again, the number to call is 855-684-3485. Get your tax evaluation plan. Let Tim and his team help you keep more money in your pocket, not Uncle Sam's pocket. He didn't work hard for it, you did. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, man, that was great stuff on taxes. I love how you really bring to focus why we need to change our way of thinking, right? We can't think about the past and how we used to just do our tax preparation at year end because there's nothing you can do about it now. You have to start thinking about the future going into retirement, right? And planning ahead. That's what this is about. Planning ahead, right?
Well, Paul, it's the difference of being reactionary,
Yes.
which is what tax preparation is, right?
Yep.
You know, every January we
Good
get
point.
all our stuff together
Yeah.
and we give it to our tax preparer and cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah, right.
Right?
That's not a
And
plan.
That's not a plan.
No.
And I mean, it's a necessity, right? We have to do our taxes every year, but there is such a difference, as we talked about earlier in the segment, between tax preparation, which is something that we kind of have to do,
Yeah.
and is reactionary,
Yeah.
versus something like tax planning, which is proactive,
Yeah.
where we're looking forward.
Yes.
We're making decisions today that are going to impact year 10, year 20, year 30.
Love it.
And that's the key.
I love it. You had mentioned something in break. You're talking about the true value of an IRA, Tim. What did you mean by that?
Well, you know, so many times we get this false sense of security by our statement value.
Sure.
You know, I mean, we get that statement in and we look at it and we're like, oh, you know, I've saved $1 million. That's
Yeah.
really great.
I got a lot of money.
I've got a lot of money. I mean, everybody wants that, right?
Yeah, that's a good
and
feeling.
it feels really good. What it gets missed is, number one, what's that money for? Most of the time it's for income.
Yes.
And then second, what is the actual value of that? Because it's not $1 million.
Good point.
It's an IRA. What happens when we take money out of an IRA, Paul?
Going to get taxed.
It's
right?
going to get taxed.
That's a good
and
point.
And so when you're looking at that $1 million, true value is probably 650, maybe 700,000.
Wow, that's a big hit.
Right? And so that's a big difference. And so it's not that we don't have $1 million. We need to understand what that is. And the reason why I bring that into focus is the income part.
Yeah.
Because when we take the income out, and we see this all the time, where folks will come in and they'll say, you know, I need $3,000 a month for my IRA. What they don't calculate is that they don't need $3,000 from their IRA. They need $4,500 a month for their IRA because $3,000 is what they want net after taxes. And so they're paying taxes on those dollars. They don't really see it, right? I mean, they have them withhold the funds usually from the IRA before the check goes out. But you've got to calculate that rate of withdrawal with the higher number, with the gross number. That's what you're actually taking out of your IRA. And so if you look at planning software, and this is one of those things that happens a lot, where people get this sense of security of they can take a 4% withdrawal rate or a 3% withdrawal rate, but that is a net withdrawal rate. Most of the time they're not looking at what the actual gross withdrawal rate is.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So if I was planning on taking 3%, but I really am taking 4.5%, well, that's a big difference.
Huge.
Not in 2021, 2022, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from
As
now.
that compounds over time, you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff. You know, let me ask you this. So what is the overall impact, though, to a person's income by doing those things? If they do wait, what tends to happen over time? What have you seen, Tim?
Well, everybody's different. And I mean, that's why, on the show, we're always talking about, we're bringing broad subjects up for our audience at home, right? But at the end of the day, they've got to come in and see us.
So
we have to understand exactly where they're coming from, what their specific situation is. And we can't give advice to the masses. That's not a thing. But, what I can tell you is this. I mean, there's so many opportunities to be able to take advantage of the tax code. And, one of the things that we want to try and stay away from is constantly living under a government's plan.
Right.
And the government's plan is laid out there. That's the thing that's so great about planning. We know exactly what it is. They publish what your required minimum distribution is going to be. All the formulas online. We know what the tax laws are. And so if we function within those, we can help people keep more of what they've worked so hard to make.
Yeah.
We can help them pass on more of what they have without that big tax burden.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many examples. I mean, I can give you we had somebody in, this was a couple weeks ago, and they were in a kind of an opposite scenario from what we usually see. Most of their money was not in a retirement plan.
Really?
Which is not the usual.
Okay.
Right? And so in their case, they had a couple $1 million invested, not in a retirement plan. But here's the catch. They didn't need the income from it. So think about that. So if I have a couple $1 million invested, I've got dividends, I've got interest, I've got capital gains. All these taxable events are spitting off of these holdings that I have to pay taxes on,
right,
on money I'm not using.
A pretty good chunk, by the way.
Right. And so that's a scenario where, our team was able to come in, basically evaluate what they had, make some changes to get some things in more of a tax-deferred, tax-free type manner, and made a huge impact. Again, not today, but over the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, where in their particular instance is probably going to save them a few $100,000 in taxes. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for, Paul.
Yeah.
That's, for the people at home, that is a real case scenario that you too can take advantage of. All you have to do is come and see us. Sit down with us. Let us listen to your story. Let us get to know you. Give us a chance to see if we can make a difference in your life, in your retirement, with your family. That's what we're about. We want to make changes in people's lives. Take advantage of it. We will put together an income plan for you. You can walk out of our office with a written income plan that's going to be tax optimized. We don't charge you a penny for that. There's no cost. Come and sit down and talk to us. See what we can do for you.
And again, that's completely complimentary, folks.
Completely complimentary.
Right, Tim? I've seen people charge upwards of $1,500 for these consultations. And why would that be? Because there's time and resources. A lot of things go into preparation for you. There's a lot of homework that needs to be done. There's a lot of reports to be ran. There's a lot of knowledge that goes in behind the scenes that we don't see. Today, your role is picking up the phone and taking action, because you are the orchestra of the band here. You're the conductor. You're the one leading it. You're the one in charge. All you have to do is pick up the phone, give Tim and his team a call, 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
The last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton,
And for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint, everyone. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host, Mr. Tim Lofton. I'll tell you what, buddy, you are just an inspiration when it comes to retiring, because you have such a clear and concise strategy in how you're going to help folks. And I think that's important to people out there because, let's face it, this is very chaotic. You know, I liken it to like this giant puzzle you just dumped out on the table, and you don't even know where to begin.
Paul, it's funny you should say that because I tell people all the time, they're like, well, what do you do exactly? I'm like, well, it's pretty simple. I said, people bring us a box full of puzzle pieces and set them on the table, and then they tell us, here's what we would like our puzzle to look like, and then we put the pieces together.
That's beautiful.
That's what we do.
That's a great description.
I mean, it's just funny that you mentioned that, because we say that all the time.
Well, that's how it feels. That's how it feels to the folks out there. That's how it feels to me.
Well,
you know?
Listen, the folks at home have a million concerns right now today. If you're in retirement or entering retirement, you have worries, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Unnecessarily.
Yeah.
There is solutions. Yeah. There is answers to those worries, and it just feels better to get the answers.
I love it.
Get it taken care of.
I love it. So you know what? Because you mentioned something. You talked about this and you touched on it in the last segment, about talking about income and giving someone an income plan that they can take home with them, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about that, because we know the number one concern to retirees is what? Outliving their money.
Running out of money.
Running out of money. So how can you help them on the income gap strategy, right? What can you do? What are ideas that you share with folks?
Sure.
To be ready so that they make sure they fill that gap.
Yeah. So, I mean, the income gap piece is actually one of the easier parts of the income plan process.
Really?
Because we know what we know, right? Their Social Security is what it is. If they have a pension, it is what it is. And so we have that number. We know what they're spending, or at least usually. Every once in a while, they don't know what they're spending, but most of the time they do. I would say even the folks that don't necessarily have a budget per se still know that I've got $5,000 coming in and $4,800 going out, and I have $200 left at the end of the month.
Got it.
That's all they need to know when they come to see us. That's what we need to figure out. So if we have their guaranteed income, that Social Security and pension, and we know what they need to live on, the math is pretty simple. Now that we have that number, that's where it gets more complicated. And the answer is, how are we going to solve that income need? And the mistake that we see most of the time is people are coming in with this kind of accumulation plan that they've always had, where they've just, they've given their money to someone and they're growing their money, and then they just call that person up and say, hey, I need $2,000 a month, send it to me. And that's the plan, which is not a plan, right? They didn't look at taxes. No. They didn't consider risk. They didn't look at the sustainability of that income. They didn't have a plan for what happens if my spouse passes away and that $2,000 need goes to $4,000. None of those things are looked at. It's, again, reactionary, kind of like that we talked about at the beginning of this segment with tax preparation. It's reactionary, right? We want a plan that is sustainable forever. And so as we figure out and look at that income need, now that we know the income need, we have to look at it through the lens of taxes. We have to look at it through the lens of risk. We have to look at it through the lens of, is this definitely the number we need, or is there a future number that we're going to need in the event of a spouse passing away, a loss of pension maybe, or a loss in the vesting of that pension. So a lot of times, even if you have a pension continuity plan where you have a pension of $3,000 a month, but if you pass away, your wife gets $2,000 a month, that's a $1,000 gap that we have to prepare for. And then, of course, as we've talked about in the past, inflation. That $2,000 a month is not $2,000 a month forever. Yeah, it's a growing number. And so that's where it gets complicated. And I think that's where people end up missing kind of that accurate information. They live, again, right in the here and now without actually looking into the future and having a plan. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. Actually, you mentioned something that I think is a component too. How much of an impact does inflation have on a plan, Tim? And do you find that folks leave that out a lot of times, or they forget about it?
I think they do, and the reason is that inflation is a slow erosion, right? It doesn't happen immediately. It happens over time, and then you just wake up one day and all of a sudden you don't have enough money to do the things you used to be able to do, or to buy the things that you used to be able to buy. And so inflation has to be factored in, because if you think about it, average retiree at 65, somebody's going to make it to age 94 with a married couple. One of them does. That's what the actuarials say.
Really?
And so that's 30 years. That's 1.5 doubling periods of inflation.
Whew.
So if I need $50,000 today in income, 20 years from now, I'm going to need $100,000 just to stay even. 30 years, I'm going to need $150,000 just to stay even. And so that type of planning has to be inclusive of growth, tax optimization, to make sure that when you get to where you're going, that you indeed get there.
That you arrive.
Right.
Right? Because, and I think that's what a lot of people are wondering when they say, hey, Tim, do I have enough money to retire? I think that's probably what they're thinking. You know, that projection ahead of not really knowing what the rate of inflation will be. How much money will I need 10, 15, 20 years down the road, right?
The question is do I have enough income with what I've saved to sustain my needs in and through retirement?
Good stuff. Believe it or not, my friends, we're coming down to the end of another show. Would you remind the good people out there what you're offering if they come to see you?
Sure. For all those that are watching at home, if you'll pick up the phone and give us a ring today, what you're going to walk out of our office with is a plan, a solution for you and your family. We're going to help you with that income plan. We're going to put together a tax plan for you. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at risk. And we have special software to do that. You're the CFO of your retirement. You have to take advantage of that. Make sure that you have somebody on your side working for you to give you the answers to make sure that you and your family's retirement is all that it could be. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
I love that. And you know, if I can share something with you, relationships. I think about my life. Think about yours, would you? Think about the people in your life that have made a difference. What a relationship is. Your friendships, your spouse, the people you choose. Who do you choose to partner with you in retirement? Who's going to make sure all those dreams come true? If you haven't made that relationship, or maybe your relationship has faded, it's time to rebuild one. Pick up the phone. Take action. 855-684-3485. Thank you for being with us. Be well. Enjoy retirement.